Thanks for joining me. I'm James Shippey, breaking news anchor for KOIN 6 in Portland, CW. I'm especially very excited today as I'm being joined by a relationship expert. She goes by the name of Jennifer Blankl. It's nice to see you and join me, Jennifer. How's it going this morning?
I'm good, James. Thanks for having me on. It's good to see you.
No, you too. You too. It's been quite the morning. As you know, we normally get up very early for our shows. I've been up since 2 something this morning, but that's okay because this is
Jeez.
kind of a highlight of the day because we always talk our, relationship stuff every time you come into the studio.
Oh,
So this is very exciting.
awesome. I feel the same.
Definitely. So, I mean, of course, when you talk about relationships, they can get messy. A lot of folks are very interested to know stuff about relationships, but a lot of times we don't get a chance to like peel the onion back and get to know the relationship expert, so to speak. See what makes them tick. So I just got a few questions for you because there's things I always like to ask folks like this. I come from a background. My stepmother was a therapist or is one, so I've always been kind of fascinated what brings people to the industry. But just kind of letting folks know what brought you into relationship coaching. How did you kind of come to it?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I would say a combination of things, primarily being my love for people. I'm intensely intrigued by why people do the things they do, why they feel the way they feel, why they do the behaviors they do. I'm just kind of fascinated why with with kind of what you said to me, what makes me tick. I'm also fascinated with what makes people tick. Secondly, I'm a big believer in relationships across all contexts being able to be successful because I really believe that when we can have, stepping beyond, a love or romantic relationship or marriage that we're in, but, stepping into other contexts of relationship, when we can have good, healthy, productive, collaborative, loving, respectful relationships, we thrive so much more as humans. Our quality of life truly does equal the quality of our most important relationships, whether that's your boss or somebody that works for you or your committed love partner. I do believe in not only all the science and data, but the emotion behind how relationships really affect our lives as humans. So I'm kind of obsessed
You're
with that.
you're fascinated by that. Oh, no, of course, and I mean
Yeah.
communication is a big thing. Obviously, when I think of therapists, I even think of like close friends that are really good at listening. Do you think that's something that some people are innately like born with, or do you think that's something someone can develop, or is it as you say, it could be a calling for some folks to be that in tune with listening to people's life experiences and kind of shoot back great advice, things like that.
I love this question. I do believe in my mind and heart that you can be born with a natural ability to listen. I'll just call it, empathy, perhaps. I also think you can develop it if you're not necessarily born with it. I I personally believe that I have a deep ability to naturally connect with people with a lot of ease. I feel like I genuinely care about people's stories and where they're coming from and what got them where they are, you know. Um, I have a I have a pretty deep past that is full of um, I would call it uh, relationship lessons, starting from, in my childhood. So I think I'm emotionally driven from my own past, and things that I personally have been through and grown through, to really passionately, truly enjoy people and wanting to connect with them on a really, meaningful, deeper level and help them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's why you get paid to do that. Of course, definitely. Now, when it comes to like your own relationship, obviously as much as you want to give away, but does being in this kind of industry in this profession, does it help your own? Do you leave it, do you leave that kind of work at home and try not to diagnose? And I say this quickly because my stepmother, I know she always kind of joked, but when people found out she was a doctorate in psychology, she said people kind of clam up a bit or worried, is she trying to diagnose them in just regular everyday conversation? It was kind of a fascinating thing she talked about.
My husband would definitely appreciate this question, James.
Okay.
So I've been doing this since 2014, and I will admit it probably took me 4 to 5 years to not want to coach my husband. I never was meaning to. I never thought I was,
Hmm.
but I think that I was. I don't know if it was just absorbing a lot, excitement level of those first years of serving clients and being in that, role initially just kind of drove me to, you know, inadvertently show up in different ways with him. And, in all honesty, I mean, I don't think he'd mind me sharing this. I mean, it definitely annoyed him. He didn't appreciate when I when I took on that role with him. So I definitely had to, first recognize and realize how that was impacting him, and then be able to, of course, draw boundaries between my work and, wearing my wife hat so that I wasn't applying that to him in a way that, was, I'll just call it inappropriate or, triggering for him. That's a great question.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think I speak for a lot of folks that may be curious about that. And like I said, I could go through all kind of stuff. I'm going to do almost a round robin of things. But let me ask you, just on a very basic level, can you tell if, let's say you have a couple that comes into you, right? Now, you're talking about, advice or not. Can you tell when a couple first steps in to your office if this, 2 minute, 5 minute rule, can you tell right away, is this going to work or not? Or can you sometimes be surprised by the work that can be done by couples as they, work on their relationship stuff, especially maybe based on when you first started as opposed to now? You've been in the game for, what, 10 years now?
Yeah, I'm about 14.
Yeah?
Or wait, no, 11, 11. My
11,
bad,
yeah.
11.
11. No, who's counting? Who's counting?
Yeah, yeah. No, I love this question. So it's interesting because I really appreciate this question, James.
But thank you.
If I'm doing a quick glance through my brain memory, the the couples or even the individuals, because I coach both, I coach individuals and couples, um, that have come to me that have been the hardest. And when I say the hardest, I mean um, not as open out of the gate, um, closed off, whether directly or indirectly giving off vibes of not wanting to take responsibility or accountability for the relationship problems, saying things that suggest my partner is at fault, it's not me, it's them.
Mm.
Those people, though, do typically turn out to be the best clients. They do turn out to not necessarily have better success than other couples that come to me, but they're the ones that over all these years do surprise me the most. And I have learned uh, not to make assumptions about people, in that first few sessions based on how they're acting towards their partner or even acting towards me. Because again, those are a lot of times the people that they might have a blind spot, and then suddenly they get a different perspective and they're able to um, feel something completely different. So a lot of times it's the people that come in a little bit closed off and shelled up, and I'm thinking, oh, this I got my work cut out for me with this client. They're the ones that actually open up the most when something is addressed or finally put on the table, in a way that they're able to process or heal from or shift. So I hope that makes sense. Because yeah,
No,
a
I
lot of times, people come in open, people come in closed off. I mean, it's kind of amazing.
I mean, you see a bit of everything, right? And I'm
Yeah.
assuming when folks come in, because some people that haven't done therapy, they always wonder, okay, well, I was watching something and this lady had said, "Oh yeah, I've been seeing my therapist for years," and the person interviewing her was like, "Oh well, of course you have, but I mean, when do you cut off, that help?" But I'm assuming it varies, right? When you see couples and they come in, is it normally like, hey, we're going to try and work on this and see if we can get some real good progress within 6 weeks? Do some folks take years? I mean, you got what you see on television, and then like what happens in real life, and if it is years, if it's a long time, I'm assuming that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Or if it's a long
No.
term.
Yeah, no, there's no good or bad or right or wrong in my mind or heart about the length of time that you seek out professional help. And I do want to iterate that I'm a professional certified on many levels coach, but I'm not a therapist. I think that's important because uh there's a lot of difference between the two paths. And I love the fact that I see a lot of people that come to me and they want coaching from me. They're also at the same time seeing a therapist. They might
Yes,
have their own therapist, right?
okay, and I'm glad you clarified because a lot of folks may not know the difference here. Could you quickly
Yeah,
go deeper into that? Because yes, coaching
yeah,
versus therapy, and then how that can
yeah.
work hand in hand.
Absolutely. A therapist or a, a licensed personal counselor will help an individual more with peeling back the layers of their past and really helping that person um, heal from things that have happened in their past to help them understand, how to reshape their current and their future. As a coach, my job is more about meeting somebody where they are right now and helping to break through any blind spots or limitations or things that are holding them back from being able to get to a certain goal or set of goals or a certain place that they really want to be in the future. Um, my role as a coach definitely includes understanding a person on a deep level to help them on that deep level. So I do have to understand to a degree a person's past. However, it is not in my wheelhouse to deeply address certain um, mental challenges or neurological challenges or psychological challenges that could also easily contribute to relationship challenges. And so if that comes up in my work, which would be completely normal, then of course I have resources that I would refer them to. I hope I answered that question
No,
in
you
a
you
way that makes
actually
sense.
did, and I actually think that clarification is really important because I mean, if
It
someone's out
is.
there seeking help, can know the difference. You're right, and
Yeah.
there is a difference between kind of digging into these deep past things, which I'm assuming 9 times out of 10 can be an issue sometimes, depending on what kind of issues they're having in a relationship. So
Absolutely.
I think just working on the whole person's great. Well, look, Jennifer,
Absolutely.
we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. But
Awesome.
when we come back, I want us to dig deeper. Some questions on my mind when it comes to relationship stuff. I'm hoping some of the viewers will be on that same page. I could literally talk to you for a very long time, but we only have
Likewise,
a
James.
constrained amount of time. We may have to do a part two here, but we'll be
Yeah,
back
no
after this
problem.
break. I've got Jennifer Blankl joining me on KOIN Conversations. Is there like one key thing that you think helps lasting marriages in your work? I mean, I'm sure it's more than one. But what's the theme there? I mean, I used to work in wedding DJing, and of course, sometimes we ask the couple there that's been married the longest, 60, 70 years, and they always say, oh, listen to your wife, happy wife, happy life. I know that's kind of a canned response, but like on a deeper level, what do you see when it comes to both folks, man, woman, same sex, everyone?
And by the way, James, I hear that a lot. I think it's a great funny phrase, and at the same time, I love more happy spouse, happy house.
Oh,
And
okay.
both parties
Yes.
get love. But yeah, I
Yeah.
know my husband. Yeah, he doesn't love that phrase, happy wife, happy life.
No,
Um,
you're right. Spouse, that makes it
yeah,
equal,
you got to
and
nurture
don't have
both
to gender it.
sides, But
Yeah.
I love the husband who can be like, yeah, happy wife, happy life,
Hmm.
and go for that. Yeah, great question, James. I would have a lot of answers, but if you're asking me to think of my top, it would be a certain level of just the word commitment comes to my mind. And I'm not just saying the overarching commitment of your relationship or being committed to that person in the relationship. But when I say commitment, I mean um, being a, and I feel like this is the hardest part. I feel like this is the hardest part for me personally. I feel like this is definitely the hardest part for my clients. But staying committed to the work when the moments get really, really hard and you're really triggered and you're hurt and you're upset and you don't like what your partner is doing or how they're being with you, committing to those moments of staying in the game, whether it's the way you maintain your emotional state, obviously the way you react. I just think that's huge. You know, how we commit to, or how we, I'll just say, flounder in those moments of challenge. Because, if you're, of course, especially in a longer term relationship, that's inevitable. And I think that's, where the rubber meets the road, you know?
That makes sense. That commitment thing, right? And, uh, how much love's there and how much are you willing to work maybe on yourself? How willing is your partner to do the same? Because, like I said, we're always evolving as human beings. I truly believe that. Um, so, look, this is a more juicier question. So, you got infidelity, money, parenting, all these things. You read all the stuff, all the text. They always say these are like those big markers that cause those nasty fights, some breaking up, going different directions. Why are these things such a big deal in relationships, and how do you deal with it? These are big things, I guess, maybe if you aren't married, when it comes to parenting, money, and, I mean, infidelity, of course, but in no particular order. What are your thoughts on that?
Are you asking, James, why those top drivers for divorce or breakup are big things?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I already know the answer. I'll say this, and actually maybe even go a step deeper. When you have couples come to you, do they have all three things as an issue? Or do you see one issue overpowering more, as opposed to what I can go online and look at and saying, the big ones? Because I always hear parenting style. I've been hearing that the past few years is actually can be more of a bigger issue than those other two.
Yeah, so I think that I think if there's a challenge that truly clashes with one or both persons' value system, that's when it gets really hard for people. So when you're talking about how you're parenting children, or when you're talking about your partner sleeping with somebody else, those are the kinds of events and things that cut deep because they go against somebody's belief system, of how a partner should be, of how a marriage should look, of how even a parent should sound. um there's a whole world there. So I think, to answer the first part of your question, which I love, would be, anything that strikes your internal value system as a person is going to be um in general speak, the things that I think go to the top of list of the things that would drive people apart. Um, to answer the other part of your question, which I also appreciate, you know, I see, I have the honor of working with a wide spectrum of challenges. So I feel like I've seen it all at this point, from, infidelity to um, people that, uh, have other big events that are truly tragic. But I will say the far, far, far majority of my clients that I attract and have the honor of serving are people that don't have big events. They don't, they're not claiming bankruptcy. Somebody didn't cheat. There wasn't some one event that happened. It is a accumulation of disconnection that's happened over time because they're um, people like you and me. They're working hard. They're raising little people. Um, they're being a partner to somebody else, and the responsibility of life has taken them away from the connection with each other, and then they kind of lose their way over time, and then one day they feel like there's something completely wrong with their marriage or relationship because they don't feel in love anymore. They don't feel connected. They're even, this last year I've heard a lot of female clients say, yeah, I've gotten the ick factor,
Oh, wow.
and
The ick factor.
the ick factor, which I hear from, I was hearing the younger generation use it, but I've heard it from a lot of clients my age use it this year.
Well,
And
hold
I
on.
think that,
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I got to ask a question here. I'm sorry, because you say ick factor, and look, I'm a firm. This is the thing. Now we're just talking, right? Just Jennifer and James talking, right? No labels here. When you always hear this stuff, right? Like if a woman's fed up, if she's had it, there's a certain threshold, if a woman's into you. Once she's done, that's it. Now I assume if it's ick, meaning I'm not attracted to you anymore, or you've crossed the threshold. Right? You've went, I don't know where it sits on the camera, but this is the threshold. You went here. There's no turning back. I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. Pardon my vernacular.
what are you asking? What are you asking?
I know. What am I asking, right? Okay, but you say ick factor. I'm sorry. When I hear that, I think there's no turning back at that point. How can you become from ick to the man or woman I fell in love with again?
Oh, I love it. I so lovingly, respectfully disagree. Like, I fully believe that people can so much come back from the ick factor.
Okay.
I think that when I hear that phrase or anything along those lines, I'm thinking I've got to shift gears as the guide for these people. But I've seen it many times. People come back from the ick. The ick factor can happen for so many reasons that are so solvable. But when the ick factor happens, what I see in my clients is a complete um, unknown. They don't realize why they have the ick factor. They don't realize why their partner has completely turned them off. And as their guide, as a relationship coach, I help people understand, whether it's working with them individually or as a couple, you know, I help them uncover that. And when a lot of people can see where that's coming from, they can shift, they can change. I know it might sound silly to just be like, oh, I've been told why I turn off my spouse, now I'm going to shift. But it's amazing what insights or what perspectives can be gained from being able to have a different conversation around why somebody's turned off by their partner. So in my experience as a relationship and marriage coach, it's simply a sign that you got some work to do, but
Hmm.
in my seat, it's not an indication of the end of the road.
Okay. So I just want to make this clear. Can someone, I'm going to get even more specific, can I be unattracted to my spouse And then all of a not me, I'm very attracted to my spouse. My wife's watching.
Totally.
But okay, but can you become unattracted to your spouse and become attracted again, regardless of gender or anything like that? These things I'm talking to you about, that might be more myth-based. There's things that can rekindle that romance. You can get reconnected to it.
Absolutely. Now, is that a universal truth? No. Is it possible for anyone who wants to? Yes. I think what it comes down to is if a person really, truly, authentically wants to. I think that we struggle with a lot of human expectation in this world and what we're, supposed to do and how we're supposed to be. And I totally lost my train of thought. My phone started buzzing.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Um,
He's probably dealing with the ick factor right now.
yeah, okay, I know what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
so, yeah, I want to say it's completely possible, but somebody has to deep down want that. Not want that because their mom is like, you need to stay married. You're going to get disowned by the family if you have, now I'm going off on a tangent, but my
I
point
get
is,
it.
if you're going through the motions for other reasons to try to maintain an attraction or be with somebody, that's not going to work. But if deep down you've lost attraction, but you're like, you know what, I love this person. We've been married for 25 years. We've raised these kids. Blah blah blah. And I love this person, and I want to reignite this attraction. Absolutely.
I believe that,
But
definitely.
if you're trying to wear the face or the facade of a relationship, which a lot of people are, you know, and you don't have a true motivation to get that back, it's going to be hard, if not impossible.
Jennifer, just quickly, where can folks try and connect with you or find you if they're trying to look for a relationship coach to work with them on their relationships and whatnot?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I do offer a no pressure, 20-minute video coaching consult where I treat it like a little mini coaching session. So that way you can connect with me and get a feel for me and, even get some relief from a specific scenario that you're into. And you can go to my website, www.jenniferblankl.com. And there's a little tab up top where you can schedule that. Thanks for asking, James. And
Great.
thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you for joining me, definitely. And it's been a real pleasure having you. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. We're getting out of that summertime, so it's still summertime feels outside, still warm, but we're going into this fall, so definitely.
I know a lot of people's kids started school today. So
I know.
there's a lot of parents out there that are feeling maybe the heaviness or maybe the complete delight of having their kids.
Right? Probably a little bit of both at the same time, so definitely. So, well, thanks again, Jennifer, and we'll talk down the line.
James.
All right, thanks.
Mm.